Hello everyone, welcome to the Organic Agriculture webinar series. Today we have Linda Mense with us. Linda, why don't you introduce about yourself?
Thank you, Chatara. My name is Linda Mense, as you already mentioned. I am the regional expert of the IPD, Import Promotion Desk Hub Office here in Sri Lanka. So I am the representative of the Import Promotion Desk here to coordinate along with our partners the activities that we are conducting here. I've previously worked with the IPD as an expert of sourcing and markets. So I have a very strong background on working closely with the producers, with the small and medium-sized enterprises in different countries of the world, and connecting them with the European market. So that is mostly our goal also here for the approach in Sri Lanka, to work on different levels with the small and medium-sized enterprises in connecting them with buyers in Europe.
Right. Linda, let's go back to a bit of history on import promotion days. So when did this organization start its work?
Sure. So the IPD was founded in 2012. So this year we are actually celebrating our 10 years anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And since then we've been continuously expanding our operations in several sectors and partner countries. So we have selected sectors that we work with and also selected partner countries that are beneficiaries of the approach that we have of the activities. That is roughly the history. The IPD continuously seeks to find new areas to approach the small and medium-sized enterprises. So for Sri Lanka, we are currently looking into the opportunity to also including enterprises from other sectors. As of now, we are only working with companies in the field of natural ingredients, which for us are any agricultural products that are processed in any kind of form. But there's also a possibility of starting to work in other sectors. So right now, we as the IPD are looking for that opportunity. So the work of the IPD is very much demand-oriented. So we always strive to work with projects, with partners, with companies that fit the market demand in Europe. And one of the main areas where we've seen substantial growth is obviously the organic sector. So there has been over the last many years, a very substantial growth. At the same time, the market is very demanding. So we need a lot of knowledge, a lot of companies that are willing to invest, to learn and to work on the demands that the organic sector requires in the European market. But at the same time, it offers a lot of potential. So when you look at, for instance, the conventional products, many times there is a very high competition on prices. So when you negotiate with a buyer for the export, it really quickly comes down to the price. So if you want to jump out of that price negotiation at all times, the organic sector really offers a door opener here to kind of compete on a level where it's not only about price, but really looking at the quality and the product quality. We've had very positive feedback from the importers in Europe on the exporters that we've been working with at the trade fairs in Europe. So the importers clearly tell us that the exporters of organic products from Sri Lanka provide very good quality, and at the same time they are very good in communicating with the importers. So one thing that always comes down in the business relation with European importers is also the communication. And Sri Lankans, especially the ones from the organic sector, have shown that they are very good in communicating with the importers and responding to the demands that the importers have. Because as mentioned, the exporters need to comply with very high demands from the importers on the organic products. It's not only the organic certification. Obviously, that's the first step to export any product from Sri Lanka to the European Union in terms of organic products. But also, it's a lot about storytelling. So what we see, especially from these importers in the organic field, is that they need the story behind the product. The consumers in Europe today are not only buying a product, but they also want to know the story behind it. So we've seen big trends in terms of telling the story of the producer who's been working on the field and really showing how the product reached from the producing country to the European market. And consumers really look for this kind of an approach wherein they understand this is the story behind my product. At the same time, we see that the producers need to look at sustainability certifications and options, especially in the field of organic production. So mostly when we talk about consumers in this organic field, they are very much aware and they want to be aware about what is happening in the world. So for them, it doesn't stop at the organic level. They also want to see that, for instance, the communities around the producer are benefiting from the exports or from the overall business that the company is doing. So my recommendation for anyone working in this field really would be, don't stop at the organic, also look at these other channels of marketing your company in terms of storytelling, in terms of looking into possibility of including certifications about sustainability. And another topic which is really crucial in this organic world is logistics. So as I mentioned before, as of now, we are mostly working with processed items, but also there is scope for Sri Lanka to work in fresh products and highly perishable products. But what we need to address here is the logistical situation of the country. So mostly the importers in Europe that buy organic produce, they prefer to have a sea freight transport. They don't really like the air freight transport due to the carbon emissions. So this is a topic that Sri Lanka as a whole needs to look at. It's probably nothing that an exporter can solve on their own, but really coming together and lobbying for this topic, that the logistical situation needs to be improved in terms of exports of highly perishable products to enable the country to also enter this segment. I think will be, on one side a big challenge, but at the same time a big opportunity for the country. Another point which needs to be addressed are capacities. So when we talk about exports, obviously the importer is looking to deal with an exporter that is capable of supplying sufficient capacities. And what we see right now is that many exporters are producing very good quality, but might not be able to answer the demand in terms of quantities. So here there is an opportunity for, on one side, exporters enhancing their capacities, or also coming together and together maybe answering the demand of the importers in terms of quantities. Because the quantities are very crucial on one side for the logistics, but also for the overall price. So I think though there's a great potential of Sri Lanka, sometimes we see a lack here that there might be demands from a buyer who would like to buy from Sri Lankan producers, but in the end ends up not buying from them because they cannot comply with the necessary quantities.
So I understand that IPD is closely linked with the Export Development Board.
That's
so
correct.
what's the relationship there?
Yeah, so we decided to establish the IPD hub office in the EDB. So the EDB is our long-term standing partner here in Sri Lanka. That's why we decided to establish the IPD hub office in the EDB premises. The main goal is to work even closer with the EDB officers. Though we have been working with them over a couple of years, we found that it will be important to strengthen and go further in our approach with them, because we see great potential for them to expand their services that they are already providing to the exporters here in Sri Lanka, but there's also scope to include further activities and services with them. So that is why we decided to go a step further and establish an office inside their premises. And we are planning to conduct a couple of more activities now with them, for instance, in the field of TOT, which is training of trainer approach. So we want to enable the EDB to conduct trainings to the exporters, which we have been doing in the past, but we want to make sure that the approach that we have broadens, because we want to reach out to more exporters than we as the IPD. I mean, in Sri Lanka, for instance, it's only me. So we need to broaden our approach and find more trainers that can provide the knowledge that we have to the exporters in the country. And that's why we link up with EDB here to kind of train the EDB staff on the topics that we've already been working on, so that they can then pass on the knowledge too.
Now, Linda, National Organic Control Unit, which is within Export Development Board, is the one looks at the exports in terms of organics. What are your collaborations with the National Organic Control Unit in terms of implementing your program?
Yeah, NOCO is a very important unit for us within the EDB setup. We've, for instance, worked with them on the field of market intelligent capacities. So what we always see is that whatever services the partners in the countries provide need to be oriented at what the market actually is looking at. So therefore, we identified market intelligence capacities as one very important field for our partners. And we had NOCO officers participating in a TOT program here. During this training of the TOT, the officers learned to conduct market research efficiently and use this knowledge to attend better the needs of, on one side, the exporters and their offer, but also match this closely with the demand on the European side.
Linda, another point that you mentioned in terms of your support is that you provide facilitation for trade fairs. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
We see trade fairs as a really important tool for exporters. Obviously, find buyers and connect with the importing community abroad. But at the same time, at least equally important, we see the market research that a trade fair can offer to a company. So to prepare for these trade fairs and really understand the possibilities that this trade fair can offer to an exporter is really important. And we need the support of our partners to bring and spread this knowledge before the trade fair to the exporters, so that they can then really efficiently and professionally prepare for it and take the best out of this opportunity. Because at the end of the day, a trade fair is always a big investment. So we need to make sure that the exporter also takes out the best possible benefit out of the investment that he has done there. In terms of trade fairs, we work on two levels. One level is the micro level, as we call it, which is the direct support to exporters. The second level is the meso level, which is the support to the business support organizations such as EDB. Yeah. What we do with the exporters at a trade fair is that beforehand we prepare them to prepare themselves successfully for the trade fair, and then we do matchmaking. So we call up importers all over Europe and promote the exporters in our program, so that they then can meet at the trade fair with the respective exporters and discuss possible business contracts. This is one very important field for us, but at the same time we see here that our capacities to support the exporters are limited. So therefore we also want to ensure that the EDB in the long term can take over this approach that we have in terms of matchmaking. So we are coaching EDB officers on how to prepare a pre-fair workshop, as we call it, which is the preparation workshop before the trade fair, but also how to professionally organize country pavilions. Because what we see is that EDB is already doing a very good job in organizing country pavilions for Sri Lanka, but at the same time, sometimes the market linkage can be increased. So the contacts with the importers are usually a challenging topic, and there is a scope to improve that field and really bring the importers to the pavilion and make sure that the exporters that are participating get a chance to sit down with the importer and talk through their business case in a personal meeting. those are the companies that are actually in the program and receive the matchmaking. And then there are other exporters that we call pipeline companies, which as of now don't receive the direct matchmaking support, but they receive capacity building measures in order to prepare them to, at some point, hopefully soon, reach the stage where they can also participate in international trade fairs and directly be connected to the buyers in Europe. So if you would like to receive the company profile in order to apply for the support that we provide, you could reach out to the email address martinez@importpromotiondesk.de. We will send you the company profile and then you can fill it out and send it back to us.
More information in getting in touch with the IPD will be available in the caption. I think you raise a very good point because with being a small country exporter, we have this issue of how we can meet the larger demands. And I'm pretty sure this problem you might have seen in other countries that you have worked already. So what are your recommendations in terms of trying to build up the quantity? Like what sort of a model can you propose for this?
What I've seen, especially for instance in Peru, working very well is that producers come together and build kind of a producing group and then act as one exporting body in front of the importers. So though they have their own productions, kind of group their produce to export it in a joint manner. And to add one more point to this, I think it's really crucial for the exporters to shift their perception from being competitive with each other to working together and using synergies. I really believe that there can be massive synergies if exporters start to really perceive each other rather as partners and learn from each other and work together to grow as a country and not look at each other as competitors.
Linda, where do you see our Sri Lankan exporters in terms of compliance to corporate social responsibility?
I would say that there are many great initiatives already. So a lot of work is already being done. But where I see a lack is in terms of bringing this down to a strategic and structured approach. So many of the exporters, though they have a lot of initiatives already going on and putting a lot of effort into it, they can't really communicate it clearly to the buyer when they come to ask them about it, because they never sat down to bring it down to a strategic plan or a marketing plan, so to say, that enables them to communicate efficiently about the topic.
Linda, thank you very much for sharing your time with us and sharing your valuable thoughts with us.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity. It was lovely being here.
So this brings us to the end of this episode, and we hope to see you soon.